Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
On goes Bull. People might yet win it here for Wolves. Flash in the shot. What a goal!
Hello everyone, welcome to your latest Wolves Fancast match review. I'm your host Little Dan. On tonight's show I've got with me the roaming travellers of Blackburn, Jeffo and Ali. It's been a tough weekend, but as always Wolves have got me through it in some sort of capacity, and we'll be discussing today's 2-0 win over Blackburn and Wolves being in the hat for the fifth round in a bit more in depth. This episode is in association with the Sports Social Podcast Network, fcquiz.app, and the Boston Coffee Company. I'll come to you first, Ali. A little bit more of a shorter journey for you today than your usual. Blackburn just about an hour from you, maybe. When we sort of got Blackburn in the cup on the back of Aston Villa, I said these two games was the making of all season. I felt if we got beat by Villa and Blackburn, the toxicity alone would take us down. We've won the last two games back to back. We're all dreaming of Wembley now. Hashtag up for the cup.
Yeah, I have to say it was I always quite like it when we get a northwest draw. And I've done Blackburn away a few times. So yeah, when that name came out the hat, I was quite pleased about it. I knew I'd have a bit of a shorter journey. So yeah, it was only about an hour up from us. Didn't quite do the early start. I think the buses from Wolverhampton were going earlier than we arrived there. I think all the guys who went to Chorley and other places were there a lot earlier than we were. But yeah, no, nice. It wasn't as early start as it could have been. And yeah, as you say, feeling starting to think ahead of how many more rounds it is until we might get to Wembley. That's the first cup game I've been to this season. It was a lot better than the last one I went to, which was Coventry. So yeah, no, starting to dream of if we get a nice, another good tie in the next round, and you know we're not too far away from Wembley again.
Exactly, it was an important win away to Blackburn today. It was always going to be a bit of a banana skin when you added the components of Danny Bat making his first game against Wolves. Playing his first game against Wolves since leaving after that promotion season. The conundrum of Andy Vyman on Blackburn's bench was always a bit of an unnerving moment for me, Jeffo. But when the teams came out sort of 11:15 today and you saw that Vita was hashtag up for the cup and he'd gone pretty much balls to the wall with pretty much quite a very strong team, as you can see there on the screen. Cunha starting, João Gomez starting, pretty much I'd say is fully fit first defensive line today. How confident were you at sort of 11:15 that we had enough to get past Blackburn?
No, exceptionally confident. I mean, you look at that side, he has every intention of going through to the fifth round, putting that out. The only shadow over that team was Santi Bueno coming back in and playing at right centre back. I think a few of us would have had questions whether he would have been moved back into the middle or whether he was going to play that right centre back berth. But with him being there, the problem with him and the fear with him when he ever plays there is that he's not got enough speed and he's not got enough pace to play it. That was the only sort of question mark that was in my head over that starting 11. And the rest of it obviously speaks for itself. It's a strong team put out there to put us through to the next round.
Yeah, it wasn't the sort of the exciting opening period of the game like we had away to Bristol City, was it, Jeffo? In the fact that, as you mentioned there, Santi Breno's lack of pace got him into trouble with, a couple of times, and I think the left wing, what's his name again? Carbo,
I think. Cogbo, was it? Yeah,
Cogbo, yeah. I was trying to think what it was. I was calling him Cogbo Carrier at home earlier on today because he was dangerous, wasn't he? He had a lot of pace, and there was that one moment where Santi just got beat for pace. There was a strong arm on his shoulder before winning the ball, and the referee was quick for bringing out the yellow. Blackburn had the better opening moments in that sort of first 15 to 20 minutes. Obviously, I think Bowitt won over the bar. And then they had a bit of a set piece, which ended up in the back of our net, but it was clearly offside, wasn't it, Jeffo?
Oh, yeah, 100%. They got it bang on. Even if VAR was there, they'd have said it was offside, surely, yeah.
They wouldn't have even got the lines out.
No, they'd have gone, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's definitely offside. But, yeah, I going back to the actual free kick itself, I thought it was a bit harsh on Santi, especially giving him a yellow card for that. I think he just showed strength in that moment, and he seemed to, from where I was, he seemed to, like he got the ball, but I don't know. I haven't seen it back on TV. But to be fair, it's like one of them again. We haven't defended a set piece very well. We haven't spoke about this for a hell of a long time. But the fact is, we've gone to that situation again. We've not defended the set piece properly, and the ball's gone in the back of the net. And I mean, lucky for us, the lineout had a bit of an off day. But
have you managed to look at the highlights since you've returned on this evening? Because we've talked about how Wolves have struggled to defend set pieces, and for me, I feel like Sam Johnson could be getting a lot closer to that cross that comes in before the actual header's won.
I mean, he's as a goalkeeper, he's not one who's very confident, is he?
He's not proactive at coming out, is he? He backs himself to be a decent shot stopper, but I felt like that was going to be Blackburn's main outlet today, set pieces, and I think it might have been like their main first set piece of the game, that moment. And like I said, you want your keeper to sort of set his marker in the game, don't you? Coming out for the first set piece and either getting a hand to it or literally coming out and fully collecting it.
Yeah, most definitely. And the other big one with the set pieces, and especially with the threat that, you know, we talked about him already, Danny Bart, it's his first game against Wolves, was that Joe Gomez was the one who had the task of marking him on all the set pieces. And that's a bit of a mismatch, really. As much as a pit bull that he is, I don't think he can jump the 1 foot above to get level with Danny Bart's head, let alone jump above him.
Yeah, Danny Bart was always going to be a nuisance in the box. There was still quite a few set pieces that went on later on in the game where it was just a looped cross towards the back post and he was winning that first header. But I think apart from that moment where they scored from what was offside situation, I think more often than not we dealt with the set pieces okay today, Ali. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah. I mean, like you said for the goal, I thought Johnston was all at sea. When it went in at first, you thought, what's he? You know, he's obviously he's half come out and then just chased the ball across, and he's nodded it into basically an empty net. So it was quite a relief when the flag went up. But yeah, other than that, I'd spotted that as well. Gomez was sort of on that. He was sort of on that. I suppose as you're looking at it, left hand side, where is it? Hyam was attacking it. It did look a bit of a mismatch at the back, and obviously they targeted that. But yeah, otherwise defensively, I mean, as you said, I think the start of the game was it was a strange atmosphere really, because there's Blackburn, there's not much coming from the home end. Obviously, the away end was fairly loud. It was quite a slow start to the game, I think, from both sides. It was cold, it was early. It took a while for the game sort of to get going, and I said Blackburn probably edged it, had that set piece, which felt harsh because, you know, as Defoe said, he actually got the ball. It was given for him. Put his hand on his shoulder before that. He let it play, and then Santi actually won the ball and gave the foul. But yeah, I mean, as we said, we've definitely improved defending set pieces, because we don't seem to be talking about us conceding every week. But when that one went in, it did feel like, oh, here we go again. But it was a massive relief to see that flagged. I think Hwang had sort of just dropped half a yard back. Was possibly his heel might have been playing him on, but we'll take it.
Depends what angle you look at that heel, isn't it?
Yeah, you couldn't really see. I'm sure they haven't got a camera there to find out, so who knows. But I think other than that, they had one in the second half, didn't they? That Johnston clawed away in the second half. There was one where he did quite well with it, and I think he improved after that. Actually, Johnston, I think after that initial sort of wobble, I do think he improved after that. But yeah, defensively, set pieces wise, certainly helps having Agbadu and Totti back. And we do look a lot better, but there's still, you know, like with anything, we're still room to improve.
I tweeted today that Totti Gomez is a player that you need in the trenches with you, and I thought he was outstanding. I thought him and Agbadu were colossus at the back. It's it's surprising yet not surprising that in 4 games that Totti's played under Vitor Pereira, Jeffo, that we've won 4 and kept 4 clean sheets. He's been an important, underrated player for Wolves in recent years, but hopefully with a more steady back line and Agbadou next to him, I think he could be another mainstay for a good few years to come. He's had some links to some really big sides in recent times, and he's justifying some of those links now.
Yeah, I think he's finding his comfort zone again, because we've gone back to the 3 centre-backs. He's shown at the start of the season he couldn't really do it in a 2 when he was with Yerson. But now he's back and he's playing in that left side of a 3. He looks comfortable and he gives us that sort of balance that having a left-footed player on that side with his body shape and the way that he passes the ball out as well and the way that he can drive out from the back, it's more comfortable for him than saying Agbadou being over there or another defender if we've played somebody in that berth. But having Agbadou come in next to him is only helping, because this guy obviously has so much experience. He has so much in terms of leadership qualities as well. We've seen the last couple of games since he's moved into the centre of defence. Agbadou, he's been able to lead from that position. He's the one who's shouting commands. He's looking across the line all the time. He's taking control of that situation, and it makes people like Totti, Gomez, it makes their job a hell of a lot easier, because it's something else they don't have to think about. They just need to defend, and they don't need to worry about the line and those around them.
Yeah, definitely. I think I mentioned we didn't really start off very well in that sort of opening 15, 20 minutes. I think there was maybe like 2 or 3 passes that went long towards Nelson Semedo on the touchline that went straight out for a throw. And there was one moment where it was literally just really bad control by Nelson Semedo, went under his foot. I think there was a look at the pitch for a bit of blame there, but Agbadou's passing and some of Totti's marauding runs today were colossal. And I feel like even though Wolves started the game pretty poorly, as soon as we went 1-0 ahead, you started to see that gulf between the Premier League and the Championship really clear today, similar to the game in the Albion last year. I think Albion was probably the better team for the majority of that game last season, but we had moments throughout the game where that gulf shone. And yeah, those who are watching on YouTube, if you thought Totti Gomez was outstanding today, press the like button. If you thought Emmanuel Agbadou was outstanding today, press the like button. I can go through the rest of the team, but I want to talk about one player yet again. The minister of relentless tackling of Rio de Wolverhampton, João Gomez, put us 1-0 up in this sort of first opening half an hour, and hopefully you'll be able to see it on the screen here. There was a nice bit of build-up play. Wang plays in João Gomez, and a classic, some might say Ronaldinho type toe bunt. And the keeper, there's so much power behind the toe bunt, he just struggled to keep it out, Ali. But another key moment from João, and another sort of just rewards for his abilities in a Wolves shirt.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was interested before the game whether he would come back in, because obviously Andre and Bellegarde started the last game. I was interested to see how he would do it. I thought that was the one area of the pitch I was quite interested to see what we'd look like in midfield. It was nice to see another partnership. I thought they both played well. I mean, for the goal, it was actually really strange in the away end, because where I was sat, you couldn't really see if it had gone in or not. So you're just gauging off the reaction of the players. There was a nice moment of sort of silence when the ball had gone over the line, and sort of, has that gone in? And obviously then we could all celebrate. But I mean, I think he's probably been, along with Cunha, João Gomez has been one of our best players this season. And it was a shame, sort of the red card against Arsenal, where he felt he'd been so good up to that point. I think he was the only player that came out the Chelsea game with any credit. And yeah, it was a bit of a shame then in the Arsenal game that he got himself sent off, missed the game. And it would have been very cruel for him to then not be able to come back in, given how well he'd done. But yeah, I thought he was. I mean, again, as you say, I think as the game sort of wore on, Blackburn had a brightish start, but then sort of our quality sort of started to show. Gomez and Bellegarde started to get on the ball a bit better, and it was a nice. The goal was nicely worked. It was probably the best thing Bueno did all game. He got in and nicked the ball. Nice pass from Wang as well, before he came off at half time as well. So yeah, it was a nicely worked goal, and as you say, I think our moments of quality there just kind of started to show. And then very shortly after we'd scored the first, we do it again with even a better goal for for Cunha, and that was kind of it. Game, as you said, similar sort of to the Albion game, as the goals were close together, but it was kind of game, set, match. Then after the second goal went in, it was kind of, there we go, that's done. And you kind of felt as though we were playing very much within ourselves, and it was a case of, if we want to go and score another one, we can, but we don't really need to overexert ourselves. So yeah, I mean, which is always quite a nice position to be in, and not a position we find ourselves too often.
Yeah, you've made a comment there about sort of João Gomez being one of our better players this season. It'll be interesting to see how the player of the season votes come towards the end of the season, because I feel I'll be one of the people that probably won't be giving Matheus Cunha player of the season, even though sort of the output statistically of what he's done probably outranks him more than anyone. But I feel the way that João Gomez carries himself, he'd be captain for me. I feel like there's a situation, maybe he's not confident. I know he's got the situation that he's got a stamina that might put him off being captain, but the way that he carries himself, the way that he drags us, I think he sets the tempo for a lot of Wolves games with his relentlessness. And I mean, you've seen a few times this season that he's got a goal in him. And this is why I'm just coming on to what Mike Evans asked earlier, which was, how are you feeling now about Cunha, Dan? Genuine question. Seems like he's more up for it again. What's your opinions currently on the way that Cunha's performing, Jeffo? Because I felt after the Villa game, I think if he hadn't scored that second goal, I thought there still would have been questions over the amount of effort that he was putting in that Villa game. And I felt today there were moments where he was clearly up for the game. There was a few moments where obviously we was already winning 1-0, so he was keen to do the tracking back and the hard running, which we need from him at 0-0, don't we? But your opinions on Cunha's performances the last two games?
I think the Villa game, I think it's sort of refocused his mind. Obviously, he knew the contracts would have been announced and that following the game or around that time. But since that game and especially today, he looks like he's refocused. He has his goal in mind. He has his new contract. He has his release clause within that. So if he continues to perform at a high level, he's going to get his move to a bigger club. So he's just got to get his head down now, and you can see that he's got another kid on the way. You know, he's playing for Wolves. He's here till at least the end of the season. So he's just got to get back on that pitch and start playing in the way that we know he can and the way that he knows he can. And that razor sharp focus seems to be back now.
Yeah, I think we were all accepting that he's gone in the summer. I think we all would have been accepting that he was gone in the summer before all of this toys out the pram, agent talk, whatever's gone on in the last few weeks. But 2 goals in 2 games now, and as you can see by the sort of the footage on the screen now, that excuse me, that whole sort of build up and the finish was exceptional. And that's, like I mentioned, and I keep repeating, the gulf in the Premier League. Nelson Semedo's assist through the player's legs was top quality, wasn't it? Ali, you've already talked about the goal. Obviously, just talking about your sort of view from the away end. Did you know it was in this time?
Yeah, you could tell this one was in. This one, I mean, exactly as you said, it just screamed of that extra bit of quality. I think Cunha did stand out today against that kind of opposition. He stood out as one of the, probably the best player on the pitch when he wanted to be. The way he took the goal was just such a, this was so no nonsense. It's going in the bottom corner. Absolutely leathered it. I thought he'd played. He looked at it again today. I thought there was no lack of sort of. I think he looked more like the Cunha of the sort of before January almost, or before all the speculation sort of started. I thought he looked better today and much more focused, as Jafo said. But yeah, the goal was really nice. It was really nicely worked. It's a nice pass from Bellegarde, who I thought played well as well. In the 2 with Gomez, nice and great pass by Semedo. But yeah, that one went in with some authority. There was no doubt that one was in. And I say from that point on, it was kind of, well, that's the game. It's just how many more we could get if we want to. But yeah, I thought Cunha was good today. I totally agree with you that I think actually there is some goodwill possibly that's gone there, or that we're all kind of accepting this he's here. This is his swan song, keep us up, and then he probably goes in the summer. But yeah, I couldn't criticize his performance today. I thought he was very good.
There was a clear moment before half time, and I'll give Cunha his plaudits and his flower when he deserves them. But obviously, Santi Breno was already on a yellow card, and there was a moment that Blackburn broke, and Cunha screaming at Breno, "You keep central. I've got him. And then a nice slide tackle. That was an important moment, wasn't it, Jeffo?
Yeah, it's that sort of, I don't know whether to call it leadership, but it almost is, in that sort of seniority.
There's a leadership quality, and as former friend of the channel, Molyneux Musing said in the WhatsApp group earlier, main character syndrome.
Yeah, I think it probably walks the line between exactly both of those things. He is that guy who likes the cameras to be on him. He likes to be that perfect person in the main moment. But you could see he took control of the situation. Like you said, he told Santi to get away from it, 'cause the last thing we need is a red card in this game and something to put pressure on the side going into the second half. So he took control of the situation in the best way and showed leadership qualities that led on to what happened in the second half when Semedo came off.
1, 2, 3 North Street's just made me chuckle, and a few others in the comments section, because this is literally where we are as a fan base now, on the back of two wins. Need to see the doctor in the morning. It's been 2 weeks and no moaning. No moaning about the owners and Jeff Shee. I mean, I'm literally moaning about whether Mateus Cunha's showing leadership or main character syndrome. That's literally how the world's turned upon its head in the space of 2 weeks. But Jeff, let's just look at the goal one more time. Just run us through your thoughts. I think it was Emmanuel Agbadou actually set us off originally with an absolute nice through ball to Wang, which then led to the build-up play for the goal you can see now.
Yeah, I mean, it's how quickly we move the ball from back to front, and it's when the defenders are winning the ball and they're able to make that forward pass straight away. It puts teams on the back foot, and especially when you're playing against a side from the Championship, you have to try and move the ball a lot quicker than they do, because that's your quality as a Premier League side. And then it's a magical moment from Semedo. He finds that beautiful pass through the player's legs, and then the finish from Cunha speaks for itself. It's fantastic to find that bottom far corner, and the keeper doesn't stand any chance of saving it.
It really is 1, 2, 3 North Street. It's a funny old game. I did mention to one of my friends who's a Benfica supporter, I like to remind him about how good Nelson Semedo is, because he always reminds me when Nelson Semedo has a stinker. But I thought that assist for Cunha's goal today was top quality. And where do you think Nelson Semedo's mentality lies at the moment, Ali, in regards to whether he renews in the summer? Is it a basic thing of, if we're in the Premier League, he'll renew, or doesn't seem to be many links of clubs approaching him at the moment, based on the fact that he's in the last 6 months of his contract? They can start having these conversations now. Nothing seems to have leaked in that aspect.
Yeah, don't profess to be that, have any particular sources, but other than you guys. But no, I've not heard anything that he's being linked elsewhere. I think if anything, he's probably at sort of, this has been his best spell as a Wolves player comfortably. And it was after the Villa game, they show you the sort of the videos and the change rooms and all the rest of it. And he, obviously he's got the captain's armband at the moment. The way he was sort of, the clip I saw of him, I saw him as more of a leader than I'd ever sort of probably appreciated, because he is a more senior player. He's 30, 31. And the way he was around the dressing room, or obviously they're only showing you the 10-second highlight. But he clearly is a leader in that dressing room, and is a very passionate player. Clearly likes being here, because he's been here a long time. And if he wanted to go, I'm sure he could have. This could have been done by now. If he wanted to go elsewhere, we'd have heard about it. I think he probably would probably like to stay. It's just whether or not Wolves are prepared to meet and give him what he probably wants. There's a lot of players, obviously, other teams in similar situations like this. I think there's probably I'm sure he would rather stay. I think there's a lot of people who say he's very happy in the area, kids at local schools. He's more than happy to stay. I think it's just going to come down to, are Wolves prepared to put their hand in their pocket and pay him, give him A, pay him what he wants, and B, give him the length of contract that he'll want. So I'm sure he's looking for another 2 or 3 years, and it might be that Wolves aren't prepared to do that. They've obviously brought in Lima to replace him, but I just don't think he'll be ready yet. Doherty isn't that player anymore to play on the right. So to me, you give him the deal that he wants. You give him a 3-year deal. You pay him whatever his market value is, and that saves us buying another right back. That's how you think of it. It saves us going back into the market, because if we lose him, I think that's it's a big player, it's a leader, it's a first team player, and we'd have to go back into the market. And I think it would cost a lot of money to replace a Nelson Semedo. And I don't think he's perfect. I think he struggles on the back post sometimes in the air, but I think it would cost a lot of money to replace him. It'd be very difficult to find. And I was not a Semedo fan for a couple of years, but he has won me over. And I think at the moment he really is sort of, he's at the peak of his Wolves career. So we should be doing everything we can to keep him. And I said, I've not heard anything, unless you guys have, that he's being linked elsewhere. It's more he wants to stay. It's just whether the club can do it or will do it.
Yeah, I feel he sort of falls into the same sort of bracket as Kilman, really, in regards to being the captain. I think he's probably one of those that sets the standards on the training ground. I think he's that sort of model professional. When you hear him in interviews, he always says the right thing about not getting too high on a victory, not getting too low on the back of a defeat. It's all about just, matching the standards that you've set previously. And I think he'd be a massive loss if we did lose him in the summer. And I think it's just bonkers on paper if you put it down. Cody, Neves, Kilman, Lamina, Cunha, and Semedo have all won the captaincy. Those 6 players, and they've all left in the back to back summers. I think it's absolutely bonkers on paper, and I feel like it might be down to something as simple as, if we're in the Premier League, he'll renew. But it would be nice to be a fly on the wall with those contract negotiations when you're hearing players like Mateus Cunha are on 150 grand a week. Pablo Sarabia is on 120 grand a week. Be interested to see what sort of ballpark figure Semedo and his representatives do want in the summer. But where do you think the summer lies for Nelson Semedo, Jeffo?
I do hope that he stays at Wolves. I really do, because he's somebody who's grown into it, and I think, as Ali says, he obviously likes it here. I do agree. I do disagree slightly with what Ali said about how much it would cost to replace him, because I think that Pedro Lima is probably ready. I think he could probably come in and play in most Premier League sides around our level.
It's just a gamble, ain't it?
It is. It is a massive gamble. But what is good about that is it's shown a lot of what we haven't seen in recent times, where the club has prepared themselves for potentially Semedo leaving. So having a young player with a high ceiling, high value ceiling, and a lot of scope to grow and to become better, is ready to step in if we do lose Semedo, and then we could potentially look at bringing in either another youngster again or a seasoned veteran on low wages to cover in case of injury or playing different competitions. So, in overall, I'd like him to stay, but if he left, I don't think we'd be in a terrible position.
Yeah, I can sort of reason with that and acknowledge that. There's an alternative here that we haven't even mentioned, and I thought he was outstanding going forwards and defensively today. Ali, there was one moment when Blackburn had another counter attack, and Rodrigo Gomez's pace got us out of a situation in the first half, and he's another good alternative to Pedro Lima for that right wing back spot if Nelson does leave.
Yeah, I mean, he's impossible not to love, isn't he? That kid, he's just impossible not to like him. He runs his arse off. He
reminds me of me in year 10 when I was growing my first moustache, and you just want to take him everywhere with you. Like he said, he's got that much enthusiasm and likability, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's just impossible not to like him. Yeah, I mean in the first half, even I think there was a lot of time he was free on that side, hugging the touchline, didn't get it, but he just keeps going and going. And as you say, there was that break on. I'm not sure which Blackburn player he was up against, and you thought, this is potentially a tricky moment, and he just dealt with it. The away end obviously gave him a great reception, and he's just, as you said, he's just impossible not to like. But he's clearly a very good player. He played on his wrong side, really playing on the left. Obviously, he can do it. But I thought he really grew into it in the second half. He got a bit more of the ball. Him and Cunha linked up well. He could be an option there as well. He is so versatile. He's such a good player to have, both in terms of likability, but he could play right wing back, left wing back. He could play further forward if you needed him to. I mean, he'll do a job anyway because you know what you're going to get from him. He is not going to stop running. I really enjoyed his performance today, but that's what I always enjoy watching him, because I know that's what you're going to get. Similar to João Gomes, I suppose you know what you're getting. You're getting someone who's going to run for 90 minutes, and he's very likable. Yeah, I thought he had a really good game.
I think he's the perfect profile, Jeffo, for a wing back in the system that we play. I think he'd be more effective for us as a wing back than one of the front three. If we're not going to have like that sort of, I know we have got the out and out number 9 in Strand Larsen that Rodrigo Gomez would probably thrive on in a front three. But I think the way that we set up in our build up play, I think is more of a use of that right wing back. And like Ali just mentioned, his stamina to get up and down is perfect profile for a wing back in this Wolves system.
Yeah, I think there's a certain level of, by playing him in that front three or playing him further forward, you're missing out on a lot of his qualities as a footballer. So his defensive side, whereas with other players like Nouri, it's as good as his attacking side. He's perfectly balanced as a footballer. He's somebody you can trust. And if going back to that first half and that last ditch tackle, that showed that his qualities in that moment. So playing him further forward actually probably hinders him as a player because of his all-round ability on the football pitch. Is you're losing a quality where you could have that and further back, and you being more solid as a defensive unit. You wouldn't get the most out of him.
Yep. So as it stood, Wolves went into half-time leading 2-0. We'll be back after this quick ad break for our podcast listeners to talk about the second half and how Wolves ended up in the 5th round of the FA Cup hat, which will be revealed tomorrow at 7:10 during the One Show on BBC.
Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
Welcome back to your latest Wolves Fancast match review in association with the Sports Social Podcast Network, fcquiz.app, and the Boston Coffee Vending Company. We did mention how Santi Breno was on a yellow card. Looking sort of a bit further in front now to next weekend's game away to Liverpool, Ali. Doherty or Breno, who takes that starting place next to Agbadu and Totti for you, based on what you've seen in the last couple of games?
I think Doherty probably comes back in if it was me picking it. I thought Bueno struggled a bit. He made the interception for the first goal, and that put us in. But he did struggle against that winger whose name we've forgotten again, Cardbo. I thought he struggled a bit. Was probably left a bit exposed, and it's not necessarily his most comfortable position. Or he didn't look that comfortable if he is comfortable there. So yeah, I would personally bring back Doherty. I thought he played well second half, played well against Villa. He's not put. I don't think he's really. I mean, he put a foot wrong against. Who did he have the one against the winger, the Forest winger? He didn't. That was one moment where he perhaps didn't do as well as he should have done. But otherwise, I think Doc's been very good. So I would go with Gomez, Agbadu, and Doherty. I'd go back to that for the Liverpool game.
One of your fan favourites, Ali, has just turned up in the comments section. Welcome, Mr. Burrows. Just tuning in to say, lovely to see Ali's strong pillow gamers continue for another week. The guy is an interior designer, Cunha. It is an interesting question for me. That's why I've raised it, is whether Doherty or Breno starts that game away to Liverpool. Jeffo, where does your mind go along that route? For me, might come as a bit of a shock. I think I'd start Breno next week, purely based on the fact that I don't think we're going to be asked to have such a high line against Liverpool. We're pretty much going to be in and around our sort of 18-yard box for the majority of that game. And I feel like Santi might be more of a sturdier unit next to Agbadou and Totti in that game. But your thoughts on that back three away to Liverpool next week?
Yeah, I think I'm more in the Doherty camp now. I was looking at it, I was thinking about it recently, and I thought a lot of our problems were coming down that right-hand side because he's not a centre-back by trade. But I've noticed the last two games since Agbadou's gone into the middle and Santi's been out of the side that everything seems a little bit more balanced. Agbadou does a lot of the covering in behind and covers a lot of when Doherty can step in, and that allows your likes of Totti Gomez and Doherty to be more proactive in the way that they're defending. They can step onto the attackers. And with that, I think maybe Doherty's probably better in that moment and that style of defending than Santi Bueno. I think with Doherty having this ability and showing his qualities on that back post and being able to defend the back post with his heading qualities and heading abilities, I don't see a problem with him coming straight back in. I think Santi Bueno has shown a lot of potential issues today, and especially going up against a Liverpool who are going to be hurting after today. Independent of whether it was a youth side that Arne Slot put out, they ain't going to want to lose back-to-back games. So they're going to be coming playing us at Anfield and wanting blood.
DY89, it shows how bad Santi has been at centre-back, that we look balanced and solid with an attacking right wing back in his place. I've said before, Matt Doherty's really taken his chance at that third centre-back position. He is, for me, the best pound-for-pound signing that Wolves have made in recent years, at least sort of top three for what we've spent on him and what he's provided the club in the years that he's spent here. Maximus Wright did say moments ago, never thought I'd say this, but trust in Vita, not too much will change. There were a few people suggesting maybe Nasser Jiga might be given a chance against Liverpool, but I think that would be a massive gamble, Ali.
Yeah, and you got to think it's likely to be Gakpo, isn't it, for Liverpool, who'll play on the left of their front three, probably, if they go with their sort of strongest 11 and if he plays. So I would prefer it be Doherty going in that battle. I don't think it's perfect, but I think Bueno might struggle. You're absolutely right. We're going to be deeper. We're not going to be pushing up as high, but I think up against Gakpo, if he struggles like he did today, I'd probably favour going with Doc. I think it'd be. I wondered whether we might see the new lad at the back today. I thought whether Nasser might come on for 10, 15 minutes and give him a run out. I wonder whether he might do it at half time. But so I think it would be pretty brutal to throw him straight in at Anfield. So I think as you said, it will. It looks balanced, doesn't it, with Doherty on that side and Totti on the other side, and it seems to be that's what Victor's trying to do in having that one designated centre back and two sort of hybrid centre back / wing, sort of right back and left backs on either side. I think that's the way he'll go, and then we'll probably see Nori come back in. Be interesting to see what he does in the centre of midfield, and I don't know after when he brought Matezzi on, and it was kind of is that looking to head to Liverpool? Is he going to play three in the middle instead of two? Is that what he's thinking about doing? Not sure, but I thought actually at half time it was clearly sort of on the back of the Arsenal game that Vitor was sort of I'm bringing off Bueno. He learned his lesson after the Arsenal game and said I'm not going to risk anything here. Take Bueno off, put Doherty on, and see this out without potentially going down to 10 men. But it would be interesting, I think, where in terms of that Liverpool game, what he does in the centre of midfield, and then I suppose with the front three, if Wang's not fit, then I suspect Guedes and Cunha keep their places, and possibly Sarabia comes back in, maybe.
Possibly. I'm hoping that the volume on your laptop isn't too loud, Ali, and your missus cannot hear me gloating that we're in the 5th round of the FA Cup and Liverpool aren't, but I'll leave that for you to fight indoors, because one of our own, Josh Lemmers, just commented saying, just got back in from the day out. Question, was having this discussion last night. Do you think Doherty is a club legend? I'll come to you first on that, Jeff. I feel the word legend is thrown about a lot in football fan bases nowadays. I think like sort of legends should be sort of players that have brought in like a massive domestic trophy for a club, and obviously we haven't had a huge domestic trophy apart from sort of the championship, and if that was one of class it as a major trophy, the Audi Cup. But he's not far off. If he's not a massive cult hero, he's in that sort of cusp between cult hero and legend, isn't he, Doherty? He's provided some huge moments. I feel like I'm gutted for him that we didn't win that FA Cup semi-final, because he got the opening goal that day, and obviously the goal against Man City that season as well. He has provided some huge moments and probably does fall in that legend category. But your thoughts? We need to start a new drinking game as me as host. Every time I say your thoughts, you have a sip of your beer.
I think you probably got it right. I think he's just on the cusp of being a legend. He's definitely a club hero and definitely a cult hero. He's been here for years. We've seen him grow as a boy. Let's not forget that he played with the likes of Matt Jarvis when he was here the first time, and he's gone from all the way from that team to this team. He spent the majority of his playing career here. You don't get many players like this. And somehow he managed to get a move to Atletico Madrid and Tottenham in the middle of all that. So fair play to him. But yeah, he's someone who's always shown humility and professionalism on the football pitch, and that's something that you don't get a lot like in abundance with players nowadays. So to have somebody like that in and around the club, he seems quite a funny chap as well from watching a lot of the stuff. He likes to have a laugh and a joke around, but he's somebody who, when the going gets tough, he's serious. He buys into it. He works hard on the football pitch. He's everything you want. He's a model professional. So definitely cult hero status. I'm not really sure legend, because legend is, as you say, it's thrown around too much. I think if we'd have won the FA Cup when we lost to Watford in the semi, I think Raul Jimenez and Neves probably would have got legend status. But it's so difficult to do that in the modern age at a club like Wolves to really become a legend.
Mr. Mikey Burrows has just provided a fantastic stat, which is even more reason why Matt Doherty should fall upon the legend list. Matt Doherty is now on 360 appearances, 21st on the all-time list, above the likes of Robbie Dennison, Andy Much, and is it Eddie Slater? I'm sure Mikey was a ball boy when is it no? Someone have to forgive me. This is me not having my mindset. The first name of the Slater. It's come on, Mikey, quickly with the first name of Slater, just to save me out of a hole. I want to come to you. I'm going to put you on the spot, Ali, quickly, because obviously Mike, Bill Slater, yeah. So I've got Eddie Slater from. I was thinking maybe Eddie Stobart then for a minute. Anyway, I digress. Eddie, Ali. I'm going to put you on the spot now, because Townley did comment just saying he would like to read Doc's autobiography, and he's come up with the title from Darkness Cometh Light. What would Matt Doherty's autobiography be? Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot with your wit. Let's see how much you can impress Mikey Burrows, bar your pillow game.
With what you want a title for his autobiography?
Yeah, I mean, Townley's already come up with from Darkness Cometh Light.
Yeah, I like that. I'm not going to improve on that under this kind of pressure.
Have you got anything, Jeffo?
Give me a minute.
No, man. You know me. I'm not that quick-witted. The only thing you could do is say, "Oh no, I'm not. I've got nothing. I've got nothing."
Something like the Irish cafe or something. Or something I'm trying to think of, but it's going to take me a while to piece it together. I'd have AI'd it if I'd have had time. Yeah,
I'm going to get on Grok after this episode finishes to come up with Matt Doherty-based autobiography, but I think out of Darkness Cometh Light, it's going to be hard to beat Townley, so I'll tip my hat off there for a moment. There was a few people commenting saying, where is this new Pablo Sarabia come from in the last two games, because he's sort of in intensity, and quite unlucky not to get on the score sheet today. He had a chance for a Matheus Cunha cross, which I think for a player who's on 120 grand a week should be scoring, Jeffo, but maybe that's my old animosity towards the Spaniard coming out a little bit there.
Yeah, that's your agenda, that is. That's that's your agenda. No, I think it was a difficult chance. It was quite a high ball for him to try and control it and to put in the back of the net. But it's nice to see, and it's one of the questions I actually wanted to ask him in pre-season when I was with him, and it just slipped my mind. But I wanted to ask him how he felt the challenge of being one of the older players within this squad would be for him, because he's always been somebody who's been around high quality players, and he's never really had to step up and be a leader within a squad and to show his qualities as an older professional. But he seems to be doing that now, and it seems like a lot of these players are now invested in what we want to do. You look at the Jean-Rick Bellegardes and Pablo Sarabias especially, is that they're now more involved in the game. And when, with Bellegarde especially, is now that he's involved in more moments in the game, his mind is more focused on the game. And the same with Sarabia, he's more focused on it. And because they're playing in a certain way that allows him to be more involved in the defensive side and having the ball and wanting to do stuff, it becomes more engaged. And having engaged footballers means that they're more switched on, and they're able to do those things like that final ball a little bit quicker, a little bit better, because they're switched on all the time, and they're not having these moments where they're standing around doing nothing and their just brains just switch off. So it's good. Whatever Vitor Pereira is doing in order to achieve that, he's doing it fantastically well.
Playing for a contract, playing for a move, or both, Jeffo, when it comes to Sarabia?
Potentially a move. I mean, I don't think that he's going to get another contract here due to the level of wages that he's on. I think you said earlier that he's on £120,000 a week. It's
Allegedly.
not smart. Allegedly.
Going off a certain Fancaster's WhatsApp message earlier that mentioned Matheus Cunha's new contract wage, and I think like Pablo Sarabia when he first joined was reportedly on 100 grand a week, and I think like they have sort of wage incremental rises based on how many years that they've been there. I think you just touched on it there. I think he's at that sort of age in his career now where this next contract will probably be the last biggest contract of his career. If he does leave here for somewhere, he may end up getting one of those jackpot moves to Saudi, or maybe your chances look at the MLS who bring in these types of really exceptional technical players. But another player that will be interesting to see where we go in the summer, because he is one of the big earners. But I wouldn't be against him renewing his contract in the summer. He is that type of player that I think Wolves need in certain games. I think over a 38-game season, he's not going to be as integral as we'd want a player on his wage, but he is a match winner and not necessarily scoring the goals himself, but he has got that range, hasn't he, Ali? And he can create moments out of nothing.
Yeah, he has. And I saw the tweet before about how many goal involvements, and he's surprisingly high considering you don't consider him as someone who starts every week. He does when he plays, even if he doesn't play particularly well, he tends to get an assist or score a goal, and he does affect games. I really like Sarabia, but I think exactly as you said, I think for given his age and what he's on a week, allegedly, I think he's more likely one that in the summer they won't renew that and say that, thank you, thanks for your 3 years. I think he came for quite a modest transfer fee, wasn't it? But it was on the basis that he was presumably getting quite high wages. And yeah, I just don't think as a club they're going to carry on paying somebody that type of money who isn't sort of, Acuna starting. He would start every week. He probably isn't that. But I thought again, yeah, as you said, he came on, he did well today. Possibly should have scored. He possibly could have had at least one assist as well. I think he put one in for Cunha as well, who headed over. I think if we can keep getting out, if we keep getting out of him what we've had in the last few games to the end of the season, we'll all say, we'll be more than happy with that and say thank you. And as you say, he may end up going back into Europe or maybe gets a Saudi move or something like that for his last contract. But yeah, I think I really like Sarabia. I think he does a lot. I think he probably does go a bit under the radar or he does get a lot of stick sometimes, but I sometimes think unfairly. Sometimes I see why, because he can be very frustrating. But yeah, I don't necessarily see him staying beyond the summer, and he's probably one that will go. And be interesting to see. I think he'll be involved a lot towards the end of the season. Vitor clearly likes him, and I think he's found a system that seems to get the best out of him. He's not as far out wide. He's in that sort of pocket on the inside, sort of right hand side, and he seems to he's more involved there. He sees more of the ball in the right type of areas rather than being stuck out further wide. Semedo's now more is holding the width, and I think that helps him. The system is helping him and get a bit more out of him.
Yeah, I think he's one of those players. I said I don't think he's the type of player that the way that Wolves play in our sort of formula. We are still a bit of a counter-attacking team. For Magic, I think like there is times when we're going to need a player like Sarabia when we're likely to have more possession in the game, and teams are going to put more of a low block on us and try and play us at our own game. But he has got that ability to create something out of nothing, and there isn't many Wolves players that could sort of, put a football on a 10-punch the way that Sarabia can do with his left foot. I just feel like I like sort of wingers who have got sort of out and out pace and they've got bundles of energy, like doing the hard running. And I feel like over a 38-game season, Sarabia doesn't do enough of that. I think he has done it in the last 2 games. I thought he was really solid in the game against Villa. Did put himself physically as well as doing the hard running. But I just want to... This is why I've had a negative vibe towards him in previous years, because the wage that he's on, I just want a bit more for him, because you look at all the statistics, his goal creativity and what it can provide is right up there. But it's that saying, isn't about, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, that sort of thing. I think if he was a lot more energetic and a lot more believing in his physicality, he wouldn't be at Wolves, would he? If he was more consistent with his hard running and his ability to do the donkey work, because the flair stuff and the Hollywood moments it can do week in, week out. So another situation some of Wolves will have to look towards. And Danny P has led me up nicely with a plug here, because he's commented saying, "Out of darkness cometh light" t-shirt coming soon to the Wolves Fancast T-Mill store, and you can find it at wolvesfancast.tmill.com. And as you can see there on the screen, we've got a new range of t-shirts out at the moment. One of our classics Don't Be Sad Mate t-shirts. We've got another couple of new ones for João Gomez. You've got your Rio de Wolverhampton t-shirts. There's a Colonel Agba t-shirt. A few of the old favourites, Mateus Cunha. Who else? We got Jorgen Strand Larsen, Rodrigo Gomez. All your favourite Wolves players apart from Totti and Matt Doherty are not currently on the store, but we'll be sure to have a new Doherty and Totti Gomez shirt for all those available in multicolours and multiple available sizes. So as again, wolvesfancast.tmill.com. There's even some John DeWolf and Ludovic Polle shirts for all the retro Wolves fans out there who like a bit of niche clothing. One player who made his debut for Wolves today was the Zimbabwean Marshall Menetsi. In his sort of brief, I would say a bit longer than a cameo, Jeff, what was your thoughts on the Zimbabwean player? I've gone with a bit of I didn't know whether it was a bit of a crowbar rhyming on Twitter earlier, but I've gone with the sort of Patrick Catrone chant, which is Marshall Menetsi. He's from Zimbabwe. We're off to Wembley. The lad's magic. Your thoughts on the Zimbabwean number 5 today, Jeffo?
Absolutely full of energy. And he's exactly the sort of player that the profile of what Vitor Pereira said at the start of the window. He said he wanted a big, powerful, strong midfielder who had loads of running in him. That's exactly it. So they've got the exact profile of player that Vitor Pereira was crying out for. And he can get up and down the pitch absolutely fantastically. And it probably should have got at least 1 goal today. You've got coming up on the video clips for those watching on YouTube. Even here, he could have got a goal if Cunha had left it from this cross from Sarabia. But he had a really good header chance that's just been on the screen. He probably should have done better with. And then he had the strike not long after, went at the edge of the box, where he probably should have tested the goalkeeper at the very least. But he looks exciting, and he looks like a player that we're glad to have. And having these athletic, powerful players, it takes us back to, and I think still with put a comment there in the YouTube comments, he's a bit Dendoncker-like. And I think that's exactly what we've kind of missed in recent weeks, is somebody who's a bit more athletic and willing to do this hard running, because it works well with what we have now. We have two very talented footballers in Andre and Joao Gomez, who are very, very set in what they do, and they work well as a double pivot. But you have someone like Jean-Rick Bellegarde, like Munetzi's just come in, who's willing to pop up in good areas in order to take shots or to make very good passes into the front three or front two. Having these players, these are a difference maker, and it's having something that changes the game. So when you, as you said earlier, when you're playing against sides who are going to play a low block or try and play our game against us, these are things that just change the equation slightly. And having different players for different situations and being able to mix it up and change things, that's a recipe for success in my eyes. And bringing in players of this, what seems to be this quality, is only great for the club.
I totally agree. I think the comparison to Dendonkers is pretty much on the money. I feel we've missed that sort of profile, and I know we all used to sort of get aggravated when Nuno mentioned the word solutions. I know Vitor Pereira's mentioned the word solutions in a few of his interviews recently, but like you said, having that different option, we didn't really have that type of midfielder since Dendoncker left, and before that we didn't. We had Alfred and Dye. I feel like we've missed that sort of battering ram midfielder, Ali. That Munetzi seems to be the sort of profile of where he seems to have the engines to get from box to box. He looked pretty tidy with the ball at his feet today, and that physical presence in both 18-yard box is going to be important for us in the coming year or so, hopefully.
Yeah, massively. I mean, I wasn't really when Vitor said what he was looking for, two defenders and a centre midfield, or possibly even two. It was sort of probably like a lot of fans saying, I didn't really necessarily think of central midfield as somewhere where we needed strengthening. I thought that was actually one area.
We don't need another centre mid. What's he doing? We need 4 million centre backs. We don't need another centre mid, surely.
Yeah, it was the one where you were like, oh, that's odd. Okay. But then obviously then you see it and you think back to Dendoncker and you go, right, yeah, he's obviously that's why he's a football manager and I'm not, because he knows what he's doing. And that we have been missing that. Someone who has legs, has the physicality, and makes runs into the box, goes box to box, can do both. And I don't know what position he actually came on in today. It was a bit. He came on and it was sort of, is he playing sort of a false nine? Is he playing centre mid? But whatever it was, I think it was just play in the centre and just get up and down, and he did it. He was back defending, and then every time we broke, he was, you saw in the clip there, you put up, he burst past. I can't believe, is he bursting past Cunha or Sarabia to get in the box? And you can see he sort of was desperate for a goal. He looked good on the ball. He put in a nice pass. I think it was for Sarabia. He put a nice ball in quite early on after he came on. I think he gave the ball away once, but it wasn't, it wasn't a great pitch, and so it's so good to have that other option, because previously, we've only just started sort of putting Bellegarde in there. We didn't really have, who were all very, Doyle, Gomez, Andre are quite similar players. None of them have got that physicality and can't sort of make those breaking runs into the box. And we've now got something that's genuinely a different option. So we've got something that, depending on who we're coming up against, we can mix it up. We can mix it up, and there's not really a drop off in quality there. You're not bringing one in and going, oh, that's a bit of a dip now. That's our back. Actually, I don't feel like bringing him in. I mean, we've only seen half an hour of him today, but it didn't feel like you're losing quality. It's just a different type of player that we haven't had, as you said, since Dendoncker. And I'd almost forgotten about the days of Dendoncker missing a chance every week and thinking, God, I didn't realise how lucky we were to just that he was missing every week. But the fact that he was getting in there and he was doing that job, So it's nice to have somebody back who can do that.
Yeah, it's a shame. I did like Leander Dendoncker, but the role and the opportunities that fell upon his lap in the position that Nuno crowbarred him in would have been the difference between where we finished. I know we had like 2 back-to-back 7th places, but if there was someone with a bit more clinical edge in that 18-yard box, we might have been doing a Nottingham Forest, ended up being in a title race. But Celavi, was there any sort of nerves for you, Ali, inside the ground? The fact that 2-0 is always a bit of a sticky scoreline, isn't it? I felt like we needed that third goal to properly close out the game, because all it needs is Blackburn to have that glimmer of hope. But like we've just shown on the screen, we had plenty of opportunities in that last sort of half an hour. Cunha had a header here, had a couple of shots from outside the box. Manetzi had 2, I'd say quite good chances. I think that header was a bit difficult, but the one from the set piece, which is just coming up in a moment here, I think he'll be disappointed not to have got that on target.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it didn't get that I didn't feel that nervous that they were to go into if we needed to. It was, as chance after chance came, it was sort of going, it feels like we're at times either trying to walk it in or we're not being clinical enough here. And I suppose when they had a couple of free kicks up at their end, they had the chance and that Sarr saved from their striker, Cantwell blazed one. So they created a couple of things, but I didn't feel necessarily that it was nervous at 2-0. It was kind of, we're fairly comfortable. We were, the Olays were coming out a couple of times. We were knocking the ball around quite nicely. It didn't. I don't know whether it was just me, whether I was being lax about it, which Jafo can say, but I never felt particularly worried that they were going to score or do anything. And I suppose that's partly as well the atmosphere within the ground. There was nothing. It was only really the Wolves fans singing. The Wolves fans made up about a third of the crowd anyway, so it was really only Wolves fans singing. You've got nothing from Blackburn. And I almost felt they made a lot of change. Brought Cantwell off, he brought a few others. Not giving up, but they were rotating, and yeah. So I didn't feel nervous. No, I have to say.
I think it's clear why I'm the only bald one on tonight's episode, because you two obviously don't get stressed like I do when it comes to Wolves. I've seen Wolves throw too many leads away over the years, and I think I'm just naturally a glass half empty type of guy when it comes to watching Wolves. I'm always preempting disaster coming around the corner, and thankfully today we managed to get ourselves into the hat for tomorrow's 5th round draw of the FA Cup, which is at 7:10 during the One show on BBC. Absolute, what the FA Cup is completely all about today, with Plymouth causing the biggest upset of the round, beating Liverpool at home 1-0. Southampton got beat by Championship Burnley. I think that was the 2 main upsets of this round. Wolves were into the last 16. I think Villa managed to get past Tottenham 2-1 in the 5:30 kickoff or whatever it was. But based on the teams that's left in the 5th round, Jeffo, is there anyone you'd like to have? For me, it's just anyone at Molineux.
Yeah, I'd like to have somebody like a Plymouth, because I know we take it a little bit more serious than Liverpool. But a Plymouth or a Preston, something where we could have a very good chance of going through to a quarter-final. What I don't want Man City or a Brighton or somebody who, it's going to be a difficult game, and we've still let's not forget, we're still in a relegation battle, so we don't want to be playing intense games week in, week out. If we can get a team where we can rest 2 or 3 players and do a bit of rotation, then it's good. It's good for us, because it keeps these players ready to come into the side if we do get injuries or we need to change things going into different games. So the FA Cup can be a very good tool for us to have players ready in case we need to change systems. So by playing a lesser team would be better for us.
Yeah, I'm going back to my pessimist of I think drawing like Plymouth or someone away at home would be really nervous for me. I think just anyone at Molyneux. I think the fact that we're in the last 16 now, the last 16's quarter final. Am I right? Or is that the sixth?
Yeah, it's next round.
round.
Next round, yeah. So
Yeah.
you get past this next round now, and like I think Luke mentioned on our show, after the Bristol City game, as soon as that word finals put into a fixture, you start smelling Wembley, don't you? So I can just pull up on screen for a couple of seconds the teams that will be in the draw for the fifth round tomorrow. Number one in the hat is Manchester United. Then you've got Millwall, Brighton, who beat Chelsea, Preston North End, Exeter versus Nottingham Forest, I believe, is tomorrow night. Ipswich Town, obviously Wolves ball number 7 in tomorrow's draw. Fulham, Newcastle, Plymouth Argyle again, who beat Liverpool, Bournemouth, Villa, Burnley, Man City, who were very, very, very lucky away to Leyton Orient yesterday. I thought it was going to be one of those games where they just weren't going to be able to break Leyton Orient down, and they got an absolutely lucky deflection off Kusanov to level the game at 1-1. And I think the energy levels of Leyton Orient were a bit zapped, even though they had a massive chance in injury time to make it 2-2. I believe Crystal Palace beat Doncaster Rovers. And then number 16 is Cardiff City, who beat Stoke City on penalties 4-2 yesterday. So any of those teams, I think you want to try and avoid sort of Man City still. I think they're still got it in their capability to win this trophy this season, even though they are below their usual standards. But for me, just any team at Molyneux in the fifth round of the draw. And like I just said, after that, you've got the word final in your fixture, and we're all dreaming of Wembley again. Matthias Cunha said in his post-match interview, Ali, that the dream is to go one step further than what we did last season. It hurt getting beat by Coventry City, but hopefully the dream is to take Wolves to Wembley and finally open up our domestic trophy cabinet. But can we go all the way? Can we get to Wembley this year, Ali? Can we get past the quarterfinal?
We can. It will depend on, as you say.
We can.
That
was a Mick McCarthy. It can.
We can, yeah. Oh, it can. And we should have done last year. It feels like, maybe this is it. We're owed for last year, although we were owed for the last time we were at Wembley as well. And yes, maybe I shouldn't have been so calm today. But yeah, we clearly can. We will need, we don't want to be drawing City away or United away. But I think if we avoid, I think what Max Wright has put there, City, Brighton, Newcastle or Fulham, you ideally want to avoid playing any of those guys away from home. The fact Liverpool have gone out, the fact that Arsenal are out, that Chelsea are out, that does start to then you start thinking, well, actually, there's half a chance here we'll draw a team from a lower division in the next round, and then you're getting close. And as you say, you'd sort of back yourself in a quarter final at home. You'd fancy it. So there's every chance we can keep going. But there's a little bit of luck we'll need it along the way. But we're in good form against teams that aren't I think the sort of Pereira not against top 6 teams. We've done quite well. It's just when he's had a particularly tough set of fixtures, didn't have sort of all the players at his disposal. Now we have. We've strengthened the squad a bit. I think we've got a slightly easier run in the Premier League coming up after the next couple, I think. And then, that will coincide with the later rounds of the Cup. So if we get a nice draw, there's no reason we can't at least get to a quarter final, and then hopefully make a better job of it.
That's it. It's another couple of tough fixtures coming up for Wolves, and then there's no easy game in the Premier League, but it does become a bit more favourable before that fifth round FA Cup tie. We've got obviously Liverpool away next Sunday, followed by Bournemouth away on Saturday the 22nd of Feb, and then back-to-back home games in between the FA Cup fifth round against Fulham and Everton before a huge game away to Southampton the middle of March. Come to you both quickly before we close today's show we've talked about Totti, Agbadu, João Gomez today. Who was your Prosecco Wolves Fancast man of the match, Jeffo?
Probably Agbadu. I thought he was absolutely insane level of quality again, and the little turn that we didn't even speak about, where he got himself out of trouble by spinning between the two Blackburn attackers, was brilliant. Absolutely fantastic champagne football at its finest.
Are they your Prosecco Wolves Fancast man of the match for today's 2-0 win away at Blackburn?
Yeah, I'm probably going to give it. It would either be Agbadu or Totti. I want to give it to Totti because my favourite moment in the second half was when he dribbled it out of the back four, tripped over his feet, got back up, and then won it back again, and then tried to go on another run. And it was just the most Totti Gomez thing you've ever seen, of sort of tried to maraud forwards, not looking particularly fashionable in doing it, but then having the getting up. I think he thought he was fouled, got up, won it back, and then laid it off again. So I'm giving it to Totti, even just for that moment.
Yeah, Totti's getting my vote for man of the match today. I thought he was exceptional. I think it might have been Danny P or someone in the comment section earlier who mentioned Emmanuel Agbadu's pirouette in front of the away fans in the first half, which was Ryan Ait-Nouri-esque dribbling, which I was like, I'm not expecting from a Wolves centre half. I would have had a heart attack if Christoph Berger attempted that back in the day. But Agbadu is getting better game by game. But I thought just as I mentioned earlier, that we tweeted Totti Gomez as a player you want in the trenches with you, and that marauding run that Ali mentioned. I think if he hadn't have come back from injury recently, I think he might have been able to go all the way and maybe get a shot away. But I think his legs went from him a little bit just before that moment to take the shot on, and obviously played the sensible pass. And yeah, I thought Totti was sensational again today, and pleasure to see him in a Wolves shirt. So hopefully he can put in another. I mean, he's got a record to keep now, hasn't he? 4 games under Vita Pereira, 4 clean sheets, going away to Liverpool next Sunday. We wish him all the best in that. Thanks to everyone that's joined me, Ali and Jeffo on tonight's show, the Wolves Fancast. Be sure to follow us on social media at Wolves Fancast, and check out our T-mail store, wolvesfancast.tmail.com. This show was in association with the Sports Social Podcast Network, fcquiz.app, and the Boston Coffee Company. Be sure, if you haven't already, to press the like button, and we'll be back next Friday for our preview show for Wolves' fixture away to Liverpool. Have a good rest of your week. I love the Wolves. I love you all. Good night. God bless.
Thank you.